Hi, thank you for joining us. I'm Vida and this is the weekly news roundup. These are our top stories this week. Prime Minister Hun Sen pleads for support at WTO meeting in Geneva. Prime Minister Hun Sen defends right records during United Nations address. Kut Chamrang replaces Yun Min as Praseyanuk provincial governor. Child dies after falling into crocodile enclosure. African swine fever fear strike Takao province. Eurocham issues recommendations for real estate sector. We start with national. Prime Minister Hun Sen earlier this week took the stage at the World Trade Organization in Geneva, Switzerland. He did so to urge member states and development partners to continue supporting least developed economies as they rise to achieve greater national wealth. The Prime Minister was speaking at the opening plenary of the End for Trade Global Review 2019. He said Cambodia has achieved an average annual economic growth of about 7.7% and graduated from a low-income country to a lower middle-income country in 2015. He also highlighted a drop in the national poverty rate, which went from 53.2% in 2014 to below 10% last year. He said part of this success can be attributed to Cambodia's diversification of production and export markets. The value of export has expanded from 5.7 billion in 2012 to 30 billion last year, he added. He said from a narrow production base composed mostly of garments, the kingdom has gradually diversified its industry production. He noted that the country no longer relies on just a few markets, but also sends its production to Japan and all Asian member states, among others. He said, quote, "Our vision is to transform ourselves into a higher middle-income country by 2030 and higher income country by 2050. Mr. Hun Sen, while in Geneva, also addressed the United Nations Human Rights Council. In his address, Mr. Hun Sen defended the kingdom's right records. During the Universal Periodic Review in January, the United States, France, and the United Kingdom said the government should reinstate the dissolved CNRP, while Japan said Cambodia had to focus on improving political inclusion and reform its judicial system. China, on the other hand, said the international community must respect the will of Cambodian people. All in all, a total of 198 recommendations were submitted by 73 UN member states during the UPR. Speaking during the 41st sections of UN Human Rights Council in Geneva, Mr. Hun Sen said the media portrayed the opposite when it came to coverage related to human rights and democracy in the kingdom. He said last year's national election was free, fair and just, with 20 registered parties and a higher voter turnout, noting that the figures were exceptionally high compared to other democratic countries. Mr. Hun Sen noted that Western countries did not send observers to monitor the election, but nonetheless issued statements claiming the election was either free, fair or just. He said that Cambodia has always respected human rights and promoted fundamental freedoms, adding that Western countries that accuse the government of violating human rights should look themselves in the mirror. Interior Minister Saw Keng on Saturday ordered the newly appointed Praseyanuk provincial governor to ensure public order, address land conflicts, and clean up the environment in order to attract investors. Kut Chamrang, former Kampong Cham provincial governor, was assigned after former Praseyanuk governor Yun Min resigned following the collapse of Chinese-owned building. The collapse killed 28 and injured 26 people. Mr. Keng said that this year is the year of law enforcement. He said safety and security must be ensured so investment can be successful in Sihanoukville. He said, quote, "In order to avoid incidents related to constructions, as well as providing credentials to provincial officials must be sure to review all construction details." He said the authorities must check progress of construction projects and how businesses operate in order to avoid other collapse. Mr. Chamrang, the new provincial governor, said he will do his job and carry out the government's policy by working with his officials. Police said a 2-year-old girl was killed by crocodiles on her family's farm in Siem Reap province, Siem Reap city, after she wandered off into the enclosure alone. Captain Cham Chamnan City Deputy Police Chief identified the victim as Rom Rodneri, a 2-year-old girl who was found dead at her family's crocodile farm in Siem Reap city on Sunday morning. He said her father found her skull in the crocodile enclosure where she was killed by the animals. Lieutenant Uch Supeng, chief of Siem Reap Community Police, said that on that day of the incident, the girl was home with her mother. He noted that the family had recently welcomed a newborn baby and that as the mother was busy taking care of the baby, she lost sight of her elder daughter. When the father came home at 10 a.m., he found his daughter's skull in the crocodile enclosure, he said. Lieutenant Supeng noted that the family had built a fence around the farm, but children could still fit through them. Authorities in Takao province are on the lookout for African swine fever following reports that hundreds of pigs are sick or dying in Angkor Borei district. Agriculture Ministry officials are taking blood samples from sick animals to determine if they have been infected by ASF. Tan Panara, director of the General Department of Animal Health and Production, said since the end of June, reports are coming in from several people that pigs have died in the district. Mr. Panara said that on Tuesday, after the number of sick or dead pigs rose to 200, the ministry instructed officials to conduct more blood tests to find out if ASF is present. Mr. Panara noted that officials are taking precautions and spraying disinfectant in affected areas and providing information about ASF to villagers. Nhep Srun, director of Takao Province Agriculture Department, said that more than 200 sick and dead pigs were found in Angkor Borei district, but the cause is still unknown. Agriculture Minister Wayne Sakon on Tuesday said his ministry uncovered cases of ASF in 2 villages near the Vietnam border in Bong Khmom province, the second province in the kingdom to be hit by the disease after Ratanakiri. Mr. Sakon instructed the General Department of Animal Health and Production to curb all pigs in the areas where ASF was detected, suspend pork trade and prevent the transport of pigs and pork products within a 3-kilometer radius in affected areas. As part of its annual publication White Book, the European Chamber of Commerce has issued a list of recommendations for the government to support the development of the real estate and construction sectors. Eurocham launched the 2019 editions of the White Book this week, delivering a set of trade and investment policy recommendations developed by members of the Chamber. The need for a set of universal standards of measurement for the real estate industry are highlighted, while the government is urged to increase financial controls on residential development projects in line with other Asian member states. This, Eurocham says, will provide adequate protection to consumers in case a project collapses. It said the government should also look at adopting a regulatory framework to govern the property management industry in the country and consult with the private sector to develop a set of standard operating procedures. In regards to land management and urban planning, the adoption of the new legal framework for development and management of coastal areas should be prioritized, Eurocham says. Moreover, the government should consider permitting a model project to showcase to prospective investors that coastal development under international standards is a viable possibility in Cambodia. This is all for this week. Join us again for another episode of the Weekly News Roundup. I'm Vida. Have a good weekend.